every day. I see you, I get you, I got you. I see you as I see who you are in all your imperfections, and that's okay.
If you've been feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or like you've lost a little bit of you in the chaos of life, this is for you. When Life Happens by Dr. Rachel Goldman is your guide to building confidence, managing stress, and taking your power back. It officially releases April 7th, so you can grab your copy on Amazon and be ready because this next version of you, she's waiting. Welcome back to the Running Wine Mom podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Selinsky, aka the Running Wine Mom. Today, we're diving into a stage of parenting that a lot of us feel both excited and slightly terrified about, the teen years. Because let's be honest, one minute you're tying their shoes and packing their lunch, and the next minute they're taller than you, questioning everything you say and responding to deep parenting questions with one word: fine. And yet, underneath all that independence, eye rolling, and door slamming, teenagers still need us, sometimes more than ever. The challenge is figuring out how to stay connected when the parenting playbook suddenly changed. That's why I am so excited for today's guest. Dr. Caswell is a parenting coach who specializes in helping parents navigate the complex, emotional, and sometimes confusing world of raising teens. Through her work with families, speaking engagements, and resources for parents, she helps people move from constant power struggles to stronger relationships and real communication with kids. Today, we're talking about what actually happens in the teen brain, why communication often breaks down between parents and teens, and how we can show up in ways that build trust instead of battles. Because parenting teens shouldn't be about controlling them, it's about learning how to guide them while they're figuring out who they're becoming. So, without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Caswell. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. And all of that is so true and so hard to do.
It is. And as we were kind of saying before, everyone that you talk to, that I'm still in the younger stages, but anytime I talk to someone who's in that teen stage, they're like, oh my gosh, it's so hard. We don't know where our little girl or boy went. And I know the listeners are going to take so much information from this. Even if you do have young children, we're going to talk a little bit about how to prepare for
Yeah,
when
I
they
mean,
get to
that's
that age.
important. It is a huge because what goes on now sets up what the teen years are going to be like. And we don't realize that. And so we don't really think through that. And so when we kind of establish that a little bit differently, we approach our kids a little bit differently. And it makes our teen years a lot easier, actually.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to talk about that. But before we start each episode, we have our wine, and win of the week segment. This is where we share our favorite bottle of wine or drink, vent about something that's been bothering us, celebrate our recent victories. So grab a glass, take a deep breath, and let's get started. So, what is your drinking wine of the week?
Of the week. Yeah, I'm a red wine drinker. I'm a cab drinker pretty much always. I love a lot of different Cabernets. So I can't even think of what the specific one is right now, but I like the smokier flavored ones, the
Ooh,
ones that have
okay.
that nice, and sometimes the bourbon barrel ones, some reason love that. So I'm a big red wine drinker. Love, love, love all the time.
The bourbon barrel aged ones are so underrated. They have such a cool flavor
Right?
to them.
Trader Joe's actually has a really good one. And
That's
it's
good to
not that
know.
expensive. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like the only red bourbon barrel one. I have taken it to parties and people are like, "What is this wine? This is so good." I'm like, $8.
Yeah, I love it. Trader Joe's has some really good wine, so I will have to
Right?
look for that. So what's your complaint wine of the week?
Well, I don't know yet. I'm going on a vacation, so I'm very nervous about what the airport's gonna look like. So I'm
Mm,
not whining about it yet, and I'm not whining about my vacation, but I'm a little nervous, I gotta
I
say.
know it's been all over the news lately. My mother-in-law is flying out this weekend, and I was like, this
Yeah.
looks like get there a little early.
Yeah. I'm a little nervous about that.
And so what's your win of the week?
Well, I get to go on vacation. I haven't been on vacation in a very long time, and I'm going to Puerto Rico. I'm extremely excited, never been there before. After the whole Bad Bunny concert, I am pumped and ready.
And are you going with friends,
My
family, with
whole family, my whole family, my mom and dad, my sister, my nieces, my nephews, my daughter, we're all
oh
going.
my gosh, so fun. Well, I hope you have the best week.
Thank you.
Um, I also always like to ask my guests, what's one significant challenge you've successfully navigated shaping your journey to where you are today?
Oh, I've had so many challenges. I mean, the biggest one right now is just going off on my own and just having my own business, which I love the creative. I love the cerebral part of it. I am not a big finance business salesperson at all. So that has been an enormous challenge for me to keep going and having to learn skills that make me physically uncomfortable, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's been a big challenge.
Yeah, that's really hard. We were just talking about our taxes before I came down and business side of it. I'm like, I'm just used to like the government just taking money out. And now when you have the business, it's very different and then
Yeah.
there's so much more that goes into it. So I empathize with you. So the running wine mom, we talk a little fitness. What's your favorite way to stay active?
I actually love hiking.
Oh,
Hiking
I
is
love
really
that.
fun. I mean, it's walking, but it's in nature, and I like when
Yes.
it's a little challenging, and we've got some rocks, and we've got some little rivers to jump over, and that's my favorite by far.
Much more exciting than walking on a treadmill.
That's one of my least favorite.
It's so bad. How does maintaining your fitness routine contribute to your mental health?
Oh, 100%. I mean, because it's going outside, and granted, I'm not doing it enough right now, particularly in the wintertime, but just getting
Mhm.
outside, especially when you've got, like, nature around you and the fresh air, it changes everything.
So great. Well, let's roll into parenthood. Can you tell us about your family?
Sure. So I am a single mom. I adopted as a single mom. My daughter's from Guatemala. She is now 20, and
Oh
it has
my
been the
goodness.
two of us, and it has been the most amazing experience ever. I've been through the teen years with her, and we are each other's person.
Mhm.
She's off in college now, and we talk every single day. You know, I'm excited to see her over vacation, but that has been a big part of my life as being her mom.
So cool. And so what were you least prepared for in parenthood?
You know, this is gonna sound terrible, but I feel extremely prepared for parenthood because I have basically my PhD in it, right?
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that I've always wanted to be a parent. So I think between that perspective, I mean, you don't accidentally adopt. That is a very
Mhm.
stringent process. So that by the time I was there, I think the scariest moment was when I was about to go get her and I suddenly went blank and I was like, I don't even remember what they eat. I had to call my friend and go, "What am I supposed to have?" And she's like, "Can't." Really? I'm like, I don't know anything. Like I was so freaked out at first. But ever since then, it has been a one step at a time, taking a deep breath. I think because I was an older mom too, I was in my 30s. I was a lot more calm, and
Mhm.
didn't panic over things. And my daughter liked to test me because even though I know she was delayed in pretty much everything on the book, you look at the curves and she was way at the tail end of things, talking,
Okay.
walking, all of that. So I'm like, you even want to make me uncomfortable. But I knew it would happen. I think it was a really good lesson for me knowing that every child is completely different and we cannot measure kids against
Mhm.
other kids ever for anything.
Right. I know. That was something I learned really quickly. It starts with the sleeping where there's some moms, their kids are sleeping like 6 hours stretches. Meanwhile, mine's in like two. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what am I doing wrong? It's like, you're not doing
Nothing,
anything wrong.
right? And nothing. It's all about adapting and learning who your kid is and what they
Mhm.
need. And I think a lot of times as parents, like you say, we get this and we go, what am I doing wrong? And we get stuck in a mode, and this happens in teen years too. We get stuck in a mode of trying to correct our teen to fit what we think they should be, and
Mhm.
that's where a lot of the conflict comes from because we're going against who they are rather than accepting who they are and saying, "Who do they need me to be for them? How do I support
Mhm.
who they are, not how do I change who they are?" And that is a big aha moment that a lot of parents have when I work with them.
Yeah, and I feel that so in my core because my parents were great, great parents. They truly were. They did everything and anything for me. And there was always there was like a weird small piece that was like, I really liked stuff on maybe this path, even though I still like stuff on this path a lot. But there were some things that I didn't grow in because they just didn't quite connect with it, which is fine. Like, you do what you can. But it is something that I'm trying really hard in parenthood to focus on. And like I don't even think they realized that was something that was,
No. I mean, I see parents do that all the time. We have and I understand. Like, we have kids, we have kind of these plans for them, we have
Mhm.
expectations for them, we have hopes and dreams for them, we have our own needs as parents of what we want our
Yeah.
kids to be and who they and that ends up kind of tripping us up a lot because we get very stuck on trying to keep them on that path rather than
Right.
looking at the path they're on and helping them succeed at the path that they're on.
So what do you think your parenting style is then?
I mean, I call it collaborative parenting is what I call
Oh,
it
I love
because
that.
it is especially when they were teens, but even honestly when she was little, a big piece of me was to give her a lot of control of her life. And
Right.
so when she was little, it was always age appropriate, but it was like, you pick the clothes out. It might be a
Yeah.
princess outfit with a cape over it and a funny winter hat. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Right.
You put your shoes on. And she would go out all the time with her shoes on the wrong feet and people would comment on it. And I'm like, she put them on though. I'm not gonna correct
Right.
like so there was all the time she had a lot of say over
Mhm.
her life, a lot of
Mhm.
control over her life. That doesn't mean I let her get away with anything. That meant when it was important and I stepped in, she knew that, and that
She knew,
changed
yeah.
it.
She knew it
Right.
was an important
So,
thing to
everything
listen to.
was about she had a voice in it, and it wasn't a she her voice overrid mine. It was both of
Mhm.
our voices were important, let's figure this out together. And I think
Right.
that reduced so much conflict growing up because
So
it
much.
wasn't a battle of who wins and who gets their way. It was, "Let's figure this out so we both are happy."
Yeah. And what's one piece of advice that you would give to other parents at any stage?
At any stage, take a deep breath. They're going to be okay. We have a choice of either trying to get in there and fix everything or realizing that we don't have the power to fix everything and stepping
Mhm.
back and letting things play out and being more present than trying to control, even again when they're little. And when we do this, actually, parenting is more joyous, it's
Mhm.
more we're not as stressed out about it, and our kids actually get to learn from their own mistakes, and that's how they learn, and they learn
Mhm.
faster.
Yeah. It's great. All right, so let's get into it. So every parent remembers, the moment their sweet little kid suddenly becomes a teenager. What is the biggest misconception parents have about the teen years before they actually get there?
That they're gonna be horrible. Honestly, we have so many stereotypes about teens, and none of them are good. They're
Right.
all very, very, bad. To put
Mhm.
out any other word, right? They're rebellious, they're sarcastic, they're nasty, they're all bad. And the
Mm,
thing is, all of those are reflective of what our teens are going through, but they create a very malicious intent
I
underneath our
know.
children's behavior. And that automatically makes us guarded against our teens. It makes us protect ourselves against our teens, and it makes us assume the worst in our kids whenever we see a behavior because we go into panic mode and we're like, oh no,
Right.
this can't happen. I got to shut this down. Instead of going, this is a natural part of growing up. Because why does every parent have the same exact problem with their teen? Teens are not gathering together and saying, how can we make our parents' lives miserable? It's because we're misunderstanding adolescence down
Mhm.
100%. And so when we understand what they're going through and what their real intention is, we can have more compassion for it and not take it personally. Their
Right.
behavior is not a personal attack on us. Their failings are not a personal report card on our ability to parent,
Yeah.
right? We got to let go of that.
Yeah, and I think that's hard. And that's where like a lot of parents they feel like their child changes overnight around middle school. So from a psychological standpoint, what is actually happening in the teen brain during that stage?
So this is actually a really good sign, but I think I want to and what I tell parents is it is okay to mourn the
Mhm.
loss of their younger kid. And we need to because one of the things we tend to hold on to too tightly is that little kid. And when our kid's trying to morph into an adult, which they have to, we try to hold them back or we
Mhm.
shame them or to feel sad about who they are becoming because they're not the little kid they were. We've got to mourn that and let go of that and say, yeah, they were great, but that is not who they are. We haven't lost that person. They're growing into someone different. And we've got to understand that. And so what happens around, I mean, it's happening earlier, but around the ages of like early adolescence, 10 to 14, right? Their brain is changing and it's going through a growth spurt. This is an amazing period of time. And that growth spurt happens until their mid 20s. It goes on, but their brain is now primed to learn more so than an adult brain, right? They can learn things way faster than us. But the problem is they don't have those skills yet. And so we suddenly go, okay, our kid is looking older, they're taller than us. They should know all of this now, and they don't.
Mhm.
So we have to
Mhm.
understand they're still learning, but right now they woke up kind of one day and their main drive is autonomy. Before it
Mm.
was hanging on and clinging to us and wanting to be, our little kid. And now suddenly they're going, I need to separate me from you. And that feels really hard for parents. It feels like
Yeah.
rejection.
Yeah, that's exactly. And so another thing that parents say, like my child, they used to tell me everything. Why do teens start pulling away? And what's the healthiest way for parents to respond when that shift happens?
Yeah, so there's a few reasons why that happens. The
Mhm.
first is their problems become a lot bigger. Right?
Mhm.
They're a lot deeper, they're a lot bigger. They're also testing us all the time to see if we're safe with those. And
Mhm.
sometimes we get very nervous with our kids
Mhm.
and their bigger problems and we want to fix them or we start to react. And so
Mhm.
sometimes our messaging of when they do share stuff is not safety,
Right.
freaking out. And so they start learning, I don't know if it's safe to tell this to mom because she may overreact. She may be disappointed. She may try to fix it. There's a lot of things, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of kids tell me they don't tell their parents things, not because they don't want to, but because they're afraid of how they're going to react.
Mhm.
And it's easier
Yeah.
not to. Our kids also do need to hold things separate from us because that's part of autonomy. They
Yeah.
need to keep things separate. If we know everything, even my daughter, who we have the best relationship, there's things that I know she does not tell me, and that's healthy. That's good, right? Because they need to have that separate life. And
Right.
at the earlier stage, that is harder because they've got to push really hard because there's still a lot of them pulling in and wanting us.
Mhm.
And so that conflict makes them kind of sometimes nastier because it's the way
Yeah.
it's the way.
So a lot of the listeners, they have younger kids at home, toddlers, elementary school age. If they want to build a strong relationship before the teen years arrive, what are some habits or patterns that should start now?
Yeah. I think what's really big is first knowing the relationship is going to change. So the
Mhm.
connection you create now is fantastic. You need to do that, but don't expect it to just stay the same and last and stay strong when they come teens because the teen years carry a lot more weight and that connection needs to change and it needs to become stronger and build on different things. So I want to just make sure that's clear. But when we have a strong connection, we need to base that not on their dependency on us because that creates more pushback when they become teens. We need to create that connection built on mutual respect, mutual trust, and giving them ownership of as many things as they possibly can
Mhm.
because then they feel that trust in themselves, which means they trust us.
So as you're saying all of this, I'm thinking of my young kids and I'm thinking literally in my mind, but I don't want to.
I know.
So what can parents do for maybe themselves to help, I guess, like process that a little easier? I mean, I know I can sit there and say, let's do this way, these steps, but inside if I'm like I don't feel comfortable or I don't want to do it that way, what advice would you give for
I
parents?
think this is a great question because a lot of parents don't. And I think we need to really look at what our role is as a parent. And
Mhm.
the world is very scary right now. Parents feel our part of our role is protecting our kids, absolutely 100%. But what we really need to do is teach our kids to protect themselves. Our
Mhm.
job is to put ourselves out of a job. It really is.
I know, I've
And
heard
it's
that
really,
before.
really hard.
It's sad.
But I think what we wanna understand is what do our kids really need from us? Is what we're doing in their best interest or because we're uncomfortable. And that's a
Mhm.
hard thing to look at. It's a really difficult thing to look at, and it's a difficult thing to accept. Um, but when our kids, when you see even little kids who have ownership of something and who are able to accomplish it, the pride that they feel, the sense of confidence, the sense of everything that you see you're building and instilling in them is so incredibly worth it. It's not even funny.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah.
no comparison to seeing your child being able to do something on their own. That
It's so
is
true.
mesmerizing. And we take that away when we don't feel safe and we don't trust it and we feel the need to control it ourselves. We
Mhm.
steal that away from them. Can't say it any more bluntly, right?
Yeah.
I get it, but we're taking that away from our kids.
Yeah. So, besides not giving independence, if you looking back at families that you've worked with, are there things that parents are unknowingly doing during these early childhood years that make the teen years harder or even easier later on?
Yeah, I think part of it is we have to understand that everything is being developed. And what I actually want parents to do at a younger age is I want you to pay attention to how you're teaching your kids. Because I actually see that parents, when their kids are younger, their instincts are a lot better.
Mm,
Then when they become teenagers, we lose a lot of those instincts because we start thinking differently. But when our kids are younger and we're teaching them how to talk, we're teaching them how to walk, we're teaching them how to tell time, we're teaching them math, all of these things, pay attention to how you're teaching your kid because we tend to do the opposite when they become teens.
mm,
When they're little, what do? We encourage them. We give them chances to do it. We cheer on even the little movement forward, right? We don't yell at them for doing it wrong. If they fall down when they're walking, we don't yell at them for falling down. We encourage them up. We don't remove every opportunity for them to walk when they don't walk okay. We do that when they're teens. We yell, we punish, we take away. You can't use this until you can show me you're
mm.
responsible with it. But how do I learn how to be responsible with it if I don't have it? Right? So we want to really pay attention to how do our kids learn? And how does my kid learn? Because my kid's going to continue to learn the same way. The skills they're going to be learning are different, though. They're going to be learning time management. They're going to be learning organization. They're going to be learning prioritization. Those things are frustrating, but we still have to help them learn it.
Wow, that's great. I'm like, wow. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
It's 'cause, and oh my gosh, that's great advice. And I just don't think anybody that I know thinks about it that way, unless they worked with you, of course.
Yeah.
So something that you talked about was connection. A lot of times we hear connection before correction, but can you explain what that actually looks like in real life when, your teen has just slammed the door or snapped at you? How do you bring it back to that connection before correction?
Yeah, so I think it's really hard because we often do correction with no connection, and
Mhm.
that is what is pushing our teens further away. And if I had one or the other, I would pick connection over correction. In fact, I did most of the time with my child because correction often comes from a place of punishment and consequences, and you did this wrong. And that's not how the human mind learns. It simply
Mhm.
doesn't. It shuts them down. When our kids respect us and we know and we respect them and they feel safe with us, we don't have to correct in the same way.
Right.
Instead, it's more about let's figure out what happened. What's going
Mhm.
on? How can we do this differently next time? So we depend on correction and punishment when there's a lack of connection,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that creates more disconnection. So connection is more about taking a deep breath again. I say this a lot, but
Mhm.
understanding there's a reason why your teen is acting out that way, and it has very likely has little to do with you. It may be
Mhm.
dealing with how you just made them feel in the moment, but it
Mhm.
has more about how they're feeling, just as we're reacting to how they're making us feel, not their intention. Disrespect. You just disrespected me. No, they didn't intend to do that. You felt disrespected. They were
Right.
protecting themselves because they felt disrespected, right? So when we step back and go, there's more to this. This is not an emergency. This is an emotion. Emotions are fine. We need to understand emotions are absolutely okay. We need to have space for emotions. It's part of who we are as humans, right? So we do this and I have a mantra of what kids need to hear from us every day. I see you, I get you, I got you. I see you is I see who you are in all your imperfections, and that's okay. I don't need you to pretend to be someone else. I see that you're trying and struggling. I see that you're frustrated. I see that you're angry. I see you. No judgment. I see you.
Mhm.
Most kids do not feel seen. They don't. And a lot of their behavior is to try to be seen. The second one is I get you. And I get you means I'm going to validate your experience. I don't have to agree with it, but I'm going to validate that you are feeling angry and that's okay. I understand you're angry right now. I understand that this is frustrating and I get why it's frustrating to you. It might not be frustrating to me, but I get that it's frustrating to you. When we validate them, that not only makes them feel seen, it makes them feel understood and accepted and appreciated and valued. That's huge.
Mhm.
And then I got you. Because one thing that teens are afraid of is that we will not have their back if they're not perfect. And we tell them that a lot. Because when we get mad at them for not being perfect, or making
Right.
mistakes, we're telling them that I'm going to abandon you. That's what they feel. So we need to let them know, even when you mess up, I'm not going anywhere. I have your back as a person. I always have your back. I see you. I get you. I got you. That is where
Wow.
connection's built.
I love that, and I'm going to start using that with my kids. But so and I see it in the younger years too. I think parents are confused where the line is drawn from over disciplining and feeling that connection, but that kind of leads into the not disciplining. I know it's not gentle parenting, but like it's
Right.
the
So
term that's
let me,
passive parenting, I guess. Like
so
how do
here's the thing about discipline. Discipline is supposed to be teaching. Discipline is
Mhm.
learning. We have confused discipline with punishment. We have confused consequences with punishment. We
Mhm.
continue to go back to punishment. And what frustrates me about this is we have known for decades that punishment does not teach. End of story.
Mhm.
Punishment is based in behaviorism, which is an outward in change of behavior. It means I'm going to do a reward or a punishment to change your behavior. That only works when it is consistent, immediate, and directly tied to what they just did. And punishment
Mhm.
rarely is any of those. As soon as we
Mhm.
remove whatever the consequence was, we remove the pressure, the behavior comes right back because we have not internal they've anything when we punish. In fact,
Mhm.
the only thing they internalize is resentment and resistance. That's
Mhm.
what they're internalizing. So every time we punish to change a behavior, we are making that behavior harder to change. That's it.
Yeah.
I can't stress this enough. And I think it's very hard because parents see an immediate compliance when they punish, and that gives us an illusion of behavior change. But it is only very temporary, and we are digging ourselves in a hole when we do it.
Right. So, what's your thoughts on schools with detention and suspension and like those kind of punishments? How do they, I know it's not parenting per se, but how can, I'm just thinking of,
Right. So, what those tend to do is isolate somebody that's acting
hmm
out because they already feel isolated. What that's
right.
doing is saying, you are calling out for help, which that behavior is. People who feel good about themselves don't need to act out.
Right.
People who feel
Agree.
confident don't need to bully other people, right? So we're saying you are hurting a lot. Otherwise you wouldn't act out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hurt you more.
Hmm.
You feel isolated. I'm going to isolate you more. That doesn't create change.
No.
That doesn't. And if it does, it's not a deep positive one.
Yeah, for
Right? And
sure.
so it breaks my heart to see these kids, and I know there's so many difficult kids out there. I get this. I
Hmm.
am not saying, but what I'm saying is what they need is not more of why they're acting out.
Right. I know. I know. I don't know. I'm like, I don't know what the answer is, but I feel like it's like
I mean, the answer
has
again is connection. You
connection.
see
Yeah.
these kids over and over again. I see it in my own practice. I get kids in my office that are terrors. Their parents
Mhm.
can't control them. They're acting out in school. They come into my office and they are the sweetest, kindest, loveliest human beings on the planet. Do you know why? Because I have no judgment, because I listen to
Mhm.
them, because I validate the experience they're going through, and they
Yeah.
breathe.
That's so nice. They probably just and that's what they need. So, what do you think what are some subtle things that parents do that are often with good intentions that really shut down communication with teens without even realizing it?
Ooh, I have so many of these. So here's a good one. How was your day? How
Fine.
many people have said, "How was your day?" and gotten the eye roll, fine, whatever? This is like a classic. Here's what's happening when we ask, "How was your day?" There's two things that are happening. The first one is we are basically asking them a question that is impossible for them to answer correctly because whatever they're going to say, basically their day probably from school mostly sucked. There were probably some good
Mhm.
moments. There weren't some great moments. That question is a very impossible one. So, fine is actually the best answer they can come up with because
Right.
when you merge it all together, it was fine. Fine. The second one, well, there's three things. The second one is when we ask, we're often asking when they're exhausted. They just
Mhm.
they just had to spend the entire day sitting still, not talking, getting lectured at, like their life not fun. And now they come
Mhm.
home and all they want to do is just be, and we're trying to ask them questions. And the third one is they want autonomy. Guess what a question is? It's actually a demand for an answer. I need you to tell me. I need you now to talk to me. So, the simple "How was your day?" we mean it fully about, "Oh, I've missed you. I just wanna know how you were. Oh, I would love a conversation." And we get resistance because we're pushing up against the 3 things that feel bad for them right now. So, here's what I like to do. "Hey, honey, it's good to see you. Welcome home." That's it. That's it. "Welcome home."
Yeah,
So,
that's
that's a big one. I think the other one is trying to get our kids to like, pressuring our kids to talk more and more and more. I've had kids tell me all the time, they're like, "I don't know what my parents want me to say. I've told them
Ye
everything I know. Like, I don't understand. What do they want from me?" And we keep digging because we have, like, a specific answer we want. They don't know what it is, so
right.
they get just really frustrated. So I think a lot of this, again, is when we just open it up, sometimes we
Mhm.
ask a question, and I always talk about questions are more about planting seeds, not picking
Mhm.
fruit. So we plant a seed and we just say, or "You look frustrated. If you ever wanna talk, let me know." That's it.
Mm.
And
That's
when
nice.
we open that up for them without pressuring them to give it to us, when they're ready and they feel safe, they will open up
Mhm.
to us.
So if a parent listening feels like they lost that connection with the teen, is it possible to rebuild the trust and how do they even start?
100% it is always, and I will tell you, I have seen numerous cases that I've worked with where they felt like their connection was so off the rails that
Mhm.
it would never, ever happen. It is slow. It is one step at a time and it is consistency. But what we want to do is decide today, I want to build my connection with my teen. And it has to be from your perspective only. One of the things that we mistake is we make an effort and we get upset when our teens don't respond back. And as soon
Mhm.
as we get upset with that, it becomes a demand and an obligation, not an invitation to connect. Right? So we're going to keep giving invitations. And I want you to put on some thick skin because it is going to hurt and you are going to get rejected because we have to now rewrite their story about us. And that is a
Mhm.
hard thing to do. If we have years of writing a story one way and we now want to change it, they are not going to trust one or two changes that it is changed for good.
Yeah.
Not at all. They are not going to open themselves up for that. They are going to question it. We need to be consistent.
Yeah.
Small, little, daily, not big, big gestures, just small, little. It's good to see you today. I was out shopping and it's made me think of you. Hey, I grabbed a coffee. I know this is your favorite coffee. Not bribes, just I was thinking of you.
Right.
Just little
Yeah.
things like that. It's not getting freaked out or upset when they have their emotions. It's going, I see you're angry. I'm not okay when you yell at me like that. So I'm going to step away while you work through this, but I'm here when you're ready. Setting our boundaries, right? So we're not getting stepped all over, but we're also understanding they're trying to figure themselves out. And when
Yeah.
we do that, and we do the I see you, I get you, I got you, on a steady, consistent basis, and they see that it's true and we're not changing, I am
Yeah.
telling you, they want a relationship with you just as much as you want one with them. I know because every teen has told me that.
So that's so refreshing to hear. So you talked about the word boundaries and teens push boundaries. That's, a part of how they are, curfews, attitude, responsibilities. How can parents hold limits without escalating into constant battles?
So here's the way I want you guys to think about this. We tend to overuse things like rules. And what happens with rules is we try to manage or we kind of replace teaching them to think critically with rules. And
Mhm.
rules are really just another way to get them to comply with what we want to do without actually teaching them to think or build judgment. And then we're constantly policing these rules saying and punishing for breaking the rules when we're not actually teaching them any of the skills to make these choices on their own. So this is
Mhm.
why I keep rules very small, and those are based on safety. I call them actually guardrails because I want you to
Okay.
picture they are the things that you're putting very wide apart to give them lots of room to make mistakes to help them from going over the edge.
Right.
No getting in a car when somebody's drinking. If someone wants to meet you in person that you met online, you do not meet them, you talk to me first. Those
Mhm.
I want very few rules, and those rules are about things that matter so much that if they don't have them, they are in danger. I do
Mhm.
not make rules about no socks on the floor or no like, those are not important. They do not
Mhm.
require a rule. So I wanna
Right.
be very careful about that. Boundaries. Boundaries are not what we want them to do. They have their own boundaries. Boundaries are what we are comfortable with in our realm. So when we do a boundary, it is not you can't talk to me this way because you know what? They can. They just did.
Right.
Right? So that's just silly. Now they're just going to be like, "Oh, yes, I can. Let me show you."
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Right. So boundaries are like that's silly. Like we can't. No. What we can do is say, when you talk to me that way, I feel disrespected, so I'm going to step away. If
Mhm.
you want to talk to me, I am here. But if you continue that way, I'm going to let you know it's not going to end well. I use that one with my daughter a lot. It's not going to end well. If we continue this way, I'm going to guarantee the answer you're going to get from me is not the one you want. Do you want to
Right.
continue? It's up to you. She can talk to me like that. She's not going to get the answer or me listening. That's the boundary, right? That's a big
For sure.
difference. And when we do that, you know what happens? Our kids start respecting us way more
Mhm. Mhm.
because we're
Yeah.
telling them how they can interact with us. We're showing them what it looks like to respect us, not what
Right.
they have to do, because that's just disrespecting them. Because here's the thing, we all have boundaries. And by the time our kids are getting upset, I'm going to guarantee we've already stepped over many of theirs.
Yeah.
So to get mad at them for stepping over ours does not bode well. They will not respect you for that at all because they're like, How am I respecting your boundaries when you're not respecting mine? I disrespect you even
So
more now."
true. Yeah. That's so true. And really what you said was so much better worded than what I think a lot of people say, and it was so much more understood, and I think you just did such an amazing job of explaining that it's actually that simple, and next time your kids come, they're gonna think about again, back to the problem solving, critically thinking, "Okay, if I want this, I need to talk this way," as opposed to, "It's gonna be a battle back and
Yeah.
forth for me to get this."
And Samantha, the most important thing about this is we want our kids to have a voice. It
Mhm.
is so critically important. We look out in the world and we see a lot of scary things, right? We see predators, we see scary people online, we see social media, all of this stuff. If we don't allow our teens to say no or have a voice in our own house, how are they going to be able to go in the world and protect themselves and say no to other people?
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
So when we hold our boundaries, rather than telling them and shutting them down, when we hold our boundaries, we're teaching them how to hold their own boundaries and respect themselves when other people are not respecting their boundaries.
Yeah.
Because people aren't going to.
No.
We're all more focused on making sure our boundaries are respect than respecting everyone else's. How
Yeah.
am I supposed to keep track of everyone else's? That's ridiculous. Mind change, right? So our only job is to respect our own and teach our kids to respect theirs.
And so parents are raising teens in a world of social media, constant comparison, and phones that never turn off. What concerns you most about how technology is shaping teen mental health?
Here's what's concerning me, and this might surprise you, is
Mhm.
how much fear we're throwing out there and how much
Mhm.
freaking out we are about technology. Because I see more frustration and anger and conflict in a house over screen time. And that disconnects us and breaks us and gives us
Mhm.
less influence with our kids. And the negative impact of that is actually them lying and hiding from us and doing more online without us being able to be there to help them navigate it. So that
Mhm.
scares me the most. But
Right.
I see technology as neutral. It's not good or bad. How we use it is makes it good or bad. How other people are on it, unfortunately, makes it good or bad. So what I'm focused on is how do I help my teen learn how to use it for good and recognize when it's being used for bad and protect
Mhm.
themselves from that. That doesn't mean restricting it. That means
Mhm.
teaching them healthy boundaries with it. So that's what I've
Yeah.
done with my teen, and she's better on it than I am. She is. She's great at it. Because I think I've seen a lot of kids where being on social media has actually saved their lives because they have
Mhm.
found
There's so much good.
connection,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Comparison is terrible. It is, and it
Mhm.
definitely makes it so much worse. And you know what? We had it growing up. We had magazines and advertisements and TV. We
Right.
were still inundated with it. Everywhere
Mhm.
we looked, that's there. And in our own lives, we're comparing it. Social media, yeah, it expands it even more. But the problem is still the same. And the problem is that it's not creating it, it's feeding it.
Mhm.
And so, what we want to
So true.
do is not stop what's feeding it. We need to stop why it's there and what's
Mhm.
being fed. And you know what that does? What does? Our connection with them.
Yeah.
We are now sacrificing to control. This is what kills me. I'm like, the very thing that you're doing is what is preventing you from being able to help them.
Right. So another thing is that, teen emotions are really hard to we're working with them, but they can go from 0 to 100 in seconds. So what's really going on when teens seem overly reactive or overly angry or sad or whichever
Yeah.
direction they're going in?
So here's the thing. During the teen years, again, our brain is growing, right? So the amygdala, where the emotion center is full on activated, right? So they've got huge emotions. Plus, they're super sensitive now because they're critically thinking for the first time. They're looking at perspective. Like their brain is basically, I compare it to they've put on glasses and the world is a
Mhm.
lot clearer. And now they see all the things looking back at them, right? So they're super sensitive, their emotions are really big, and the tools that they need, the skills they need to control those emotions, which we don't want to control them, but be able to regulate them, be able to
Right.
understand them, those are still developing. So the
Yeah.
emotions are big. And they're going to be big. That doesn't mean they will be big forever. It means they need help learning how to not be afraid of their emotions, how to ride their
Right.
emotions out. And what parents tend to do is we try to shut the emotion down. Shut it down. Do this. Well, that only adds more emotion
Mhm.
and stress and freaking out to the emotion they're already struggling to manage, and we're making it worse.
Right.
So, what we want to do is we don't want to fear emotion. Emotion is human. Every emotion is human. It is okay. Society tells us these emotions are bad. They're not bad. We
Mhm.
don't want to shut them down. What we want to do is help them ride them out. We do that by we staying calm, because if we get caught up in their storm and we start getting all emotional, first of all, we're not helping them, but second of all, we're just showing that
Mhm.
they can manipulate us and our emotions are all over the place and we don't have control.
Right.
So we
Yeah.
got to learn to control our emotions, and we haven't learned. It's a hard thing. A lot of adults do not know how to regulate their own emotions.
And that was gonna be my next question is where does an adult start if and I've totally realized that as I became a parent with Oh my gosh, I can't believe that I am unable to I haven't felt that like since I was a teenager, so there's so many things that are triggering or making me go, and you work on it, you try, but for maybe people who are wondering where do they start? Where should they go? What do they do to help themselves first?
Yeah. I think the first thing is giving yourself grace because emotions are
Mhm.
real. Like, we're
Right.
gonna have emotions. It is okay. You're
Right.
going to overreact. You are going to get
Mhm.
angry. You are going to be afraid. All of those are natural, right?
Right.
What we wanna stop doing is having those emotions inform how we respond to our kid. Because when we respond to our kid based on those emotions, we're not responding to our kid. We are responding
True.
to how we feel. And that is very different. And that often gets us into lots of trouble and escalates the situation. So it's okay. And we can go, I'm freaking out right now. And we just say, I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out. Just name it.
Yeah.
I'm freaking out. Right? I'm really I'm scared right now. I'm upset. We can even tell our teen, "That scared me. I'm gonna be honest. That scared me. I gotta work through this fear first before I can talk to you."
Yes,
Right?
it's yeah,
I gotta go
no,
process. I gotta go process this for a second or a minute or an
yeah.
hour. And when I feel I've processed it a little bit, then let's come back and talk. And I
Mhm.
will warn you, I may get that again, right? But I'm gonna be
Right.
honest about it because now I'm just honest about the feeling. If I react and I jump in and I lose it and I don't, we come back and we repair and we go,
Right.
I did not want to respond that way, but man, my emotions got big and didn't regulate them.
Right.
So I apologize and I want to try again. You can do
Yeah.
that because they learn they
I
can
do
do that
think
too.
naming the emotion is just so
Huge.
important for the kids to see, because even again as a kid, my parents didn't, they put on a great face for everything is fine and dandy, and I'm like and and as an adult you're like, my parents never seemed stressed, frustrated, angry, annoyed, and then they're like, oh yeah, we were,
That
we
is,
just,
yeah,
and I'm
that's
like, but
unfair
I
to
think
our kids.
yeah.
It's really
I know you
unfair.
thought that you were doing the right thing, but you're
Right.
making me feel like a failure as an adult.
Yeah, well, I think parents think that authority means that they always have it together and they're
Mhm.
always right and they're always this,
Mhm.
and that is not authority. That is
Mhm.
ego.
Right.
Authority is, I feel like I'm gonna be able to stay calm when you're not. I'm gonna be reasonable as possible. I'm the adult here, so I'm gonna take on the heaviness of this moment,
Right.
right? So I'm gonna take responsibility for my part of this dynamic,
Yeah.
right? That's really, really important. When we do that and we model that, then our authority comes from them trusting us. And they
Mhm.
go, I know I can trust you. I know that you're there for me. I know you have my best interest. I know you're a reasonable person. So I trust
Right.
what you say. That's authority.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we picture the teen years, and even in this conversation, we focused on a lot of challenges, which is important for everybody to listen and learn how to work through. But from your perspective, what are some things that parents of younger kids or even kids going, in teens should look forward to about raising teens?
I love this question so much because my whole belief is the teen years are some of the best years. They're the
Yeah.
best years. Yes, they're gonna have emotions, all of this, but you know what? You get a front row seat to seeing them become the adult they're gonna become. You
Mhm.
see them forming as a full human. I mean, they're a human being, but you see them forming into their full selves. You see them trying on different identities and figuring out what identity fits them. See them love, I mean, the passions that these kids have is huge. You see them dreaming so big and you see them feeling so big. I just feel like that is such a blessing to be
Yeah.
able to have that experience. And when we let go of trying to control it and direct it and fix it, and we just are there for it, it changes everything. It really does.
Yeah.
And now you have a kid who can actually do stuff and help, and they want to. Like when you have a good connection with your kids, they actually want to help.
Yeah.
When you have a good connection with your kids, they actually tell you what's going on. Those are the
Yes.
things that we
That's
feel
the
like we're
goal.
struggling with. When we build connection and we make that the priority, that stuff comes.
And, teens, they're trying to find out who they are, where they belong. What can parents do to support their identity development without projecting their own expectations on them?
This is another really, really hard one. And I think every generation, the next generation has more things that they get to choose. I will say that.
Mhm.
Now, a lot of parents I remember when we were younger, it was sexuality, and that was something
Mhm.
my parents never dealt with. Now it is
Right.
gender identification, right?
Mhm.
It's and parents are like, "That's not a question. You either are or aren't." And so we have a lot of trouble understanding the identities our kids are trying on because we have a lot of
Right.
fear and misunderstanding about them. And what I think is really, really important is understanding that they need to try on different things to figure out what fits them.
Mhm.
So today they may be, tomorrow they may not. Tomorrow they may still be, right? Our job is not to decide who our teen is.
Mhm.
It's to understand and accept who our teen is. And that can be very difficult to do because we may not understand it. But
Mm.
we don't have the ability to change who our teen is. What we do is we either by our reaction, we help them decide whether they're gonna include us in
Mm.
who they are or exclude us. That's what
So
they're
true.
deciding. So we make that choice. And
Yeah.
I know there's parents that are gonna make the choice that I'd rather you exclude me because I don't accept it. I can't
Right.
change your mind on that. It breaks my heart and it breaks your kids' hearts, but I can't that's a bigger thing that I can't conquer. But I do want us to understand that we're not gonna change it. Shaming them is not changing them. It is hiding them from us.
Yeah.
And, that's hard.
Yeah. What do you think something teens wish their parents understood about them but don't talk about as much or rarely tell them?
Here's what I heard one kid say, and it has resonated with me forever because I think it sums it up. I just wish my dad would laugh at my joke. Our kids want a connection with us, but the way that we're trying to connect with them is not connection. It is obligation and it is compliance and it is, I will only be around you if you are the way I want you to be. But our
Yeah.
kids just want us to accept them for who they are, and they just want to chill and not talk about grades and not talk about phone time and not talk they just want you to laugh at their jokes.
Yeah. That's a simple answer and that's what I think a lot of parents sometimes overthink things, and that is just so
Mhm.
simple.
Yeah.
Well, oh my gosh, I could talk for hours with you about this, but I'm just going to ask you one more question before we wrap it up. For those listening, when, their child eventually grows into an adult and looks back on their teen years, what do you hope that you would want a teen to remember about how their parents showed up for them? What do you think that every teen would want or
I think every teen wants to look back and go, "My parents were my biggest supporters. My parents were the ones that I always knew had my back. They're the ones that I could depend on." That's what I want. That's what I want my daughter to look back on and say, "My mom was the one."
yeah. Got the chills for that. It's so true. All right. Well, that's going to be the perfect place to end it. That's going to bring us to the end of another episode of The Running Wine Mom. I think one of the biggest takeaways from today is that the teen years aren't necessarily a time when parents are losing influence. They're a time when the influence starts to look a little different. And it becomes, like you said, less about control, more about connection, less about having the answers, more about staying present while our kids are still figuring this all out. Parents listening who may be in the middle of those eye rolls and slam doors or the one word responses, hopefully this conversation reminds you that those moments are often part of the process, not the end of the relationship. So thank you, Dr. Caswell, for this. This was amazing.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. As always, thank you for spending time with us today on The Running Wine Mom. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with a parent who needs to hear it. You can follow me on Instagram at the running wine mom _ and Dr. Caswell. Where can the listeners find you?
Dr. Cam Caswell on Instagram.
Perfect. And I will link that. Thank you so much again. This was great. Thank you so much for joining us today. Remember, you are strong, you are capable, and you are all amazing. Until next time, keep running, keep sipping, and keep embracing the joy of motherhood. Cheers, and I will be back next Tuesday.